What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and this is another episode of the Facts Project. Today, very, very special guest. It's been a while because I've been wanting to have this brother on the show for a very long time. DJ Ben Hameen from the For All Nerds podcast, the blackest nerd podcast in the land. Thank you for being here, brother.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, you said Ben Hameen, but it more like Ben Hameen. But
Ben Hameen.
Ben Hameen. Yep. But thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm glad to have you. First off, I know you just came back from vacation. You were overseas for a little while. How have you been?
I've been great. Yeah, I was. I just from like I was like I was. Oh yeah, I was in Ethiopia for the New Year in Addis Ababa in the capital. It was beautiful. I've been there a few times, and it's a beautiful time every time. So that was just great. Man, yeah, it's been a wild beginning to the year, and now I'm back here, and we're back doing For All Nerds and everything else that I got going on. So, yeah, I'm good. I can't complain, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Absolutely. So obviously you've gotten time to come back by the time this Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer hit for the Super Bowl. So I'm sure you had time to wrap your mind around, of course, all the theories that have been wrapped around that.
Yeah, pretty much. I actually went on a little bit of a Reddit deep dive, and I don't recommend it for anyone who is trying to avoid spoilers at this point, because there's like some leaks out there and stuff like that. So I don't know if anything I read is true, and I stopped reading when I felt like I was giving them too much away. So
yeah,
we'll see.
And that was probably like, I can't say that I'm on Reddit often.
Yeah,
probably like a moment that I was on Reddit that I'll regret, because I felt like I read way too much.
Yeah, I stopped through about halfway through it, and there's also a lot of reshoots, and a lot of that stuff ain't right anyway, so I'm not really worried, because to me it's like more about just seeing how it's done anyway when it does happen. So I think that's just to be ill, so I'm just hyped either way.
It definitely, for real. So for anybody that does not know the For All Nerds podcast, like if anybody has never heard of your podcast before, how do you basically introduce them to the show?
I would say check us out and listen. I'd say we're the For All Nerds podcast. We're known as the voice of the urban geek, the podcast that discusses geek culture from the perspective of people of color. And our main motto is inclusion is revolution. And by that we mean through the simple act of including everyone, we will have a revolution. And so that's what we preach, that's what we practice, and that's what we're all about. And we basically been going for a minute now, and we've interviewed a plethora of guests. The show is run by me and my co-host Tatiana King, and I mean I can't even begin to name all the different people we've had on there.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I'm
Kate Herron. I'm just trying to think of a few, right? Like the director and creator, one of the creators of Loki. We had her on this year. I mean, that was last year. Yeah, it's a lot of people, man. Check our SoundCloud, For All Nerds, on all better podcast platforms. You can find us. Just type in For All Nerds on Spotify, all that good stuff, on social media at For All Nerds. That's FORALL Nerds, For All Nerds fan. You get it. For All Nerds fan show. So
definitely
check it out.
I can honestly say that the best For All Nerds podcast episode that I ever heard was the Young Guru baby that Yoda is trash.
Yeah, we've had my brother Young Guru, Jay-Z, and a million other people, engineer extraordinaire, and also one of my best friends. We've had him on the show a few times, and the last time he was on there, he broke down why Yoda is trash, and as he said famously, a baby snatcher.
Oh, bro. I was indoctrinated that night, because I was like, when I listened to that, I was like, yo, this is too much, man. This is like I can't even be down with the Jedi way anymore. Like this, like straight up. This is what Yoda's about.
It's so funny because Drew, just like me, is a huge Star Wars fan. He might even know more about Star Wars than I do, and he'll say all that just to say that that's the truth. It's like Yoda is one of the biggest problems. And just the Jedi in general just have a big problem with their doctrine and obeying it. And I was really crying, laughing, watching Boba Fett Mandalorian this season, because Luke is still just falling into all those same traps like an idiot.
Oh my God, man! Because I think I remember that one episode where he basically gave Baby Yoda the choice between the little singlet T-shirt that
Yeah, it's like
Mandalorian gave him and Baby Yoda. I'm sorry, and Yoda's lightsaber. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wait, only Sith deal in absolutes.
absolutes. I thought, but the Jedi stay dealing in absolutes, and that's one of they are like hilariously blind, to their own faults. So.
Oh my
And
God!
it's also, that's the path Luke is headed down, because he's headed down this path of, I'm just trying to recreate the Jedi, and then, Kylo's going to destroy it all, and then that's when he's finally going to realize. So it takes him a long time to get there, but he gets there.
It's crazy. Now, tell us about like basically your introduction to Tatiana King Jones as your co-partner for For All Nerds.
Yep. Oh man, I was just talking about this. It basically, the For All Nerds show was started as the Fan Bros show. That's what was our original moniker. I just like saying that word. And we were founded by my brother Combat Jack. You can see the Combat Jack show hat behind me right there if you zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
And the Combat Jack show, rest in peace to my brother Reggie Osei, was one of the premier, if not the premier, hip hop podcast. And Reggie at one point was like, yo, we're going to do a podcast that talks about how comic books and hip hop culture and geek culture in general are so intertwined. And at the time, it just wasn't a lot of people out there doing that, if many at all. And so me and him started the show alongside my brother Chico Leo. And it was us three, and maybe like an episode or two in, I just knew it wasn't working for me. I just did not want to listen to dudes talk about geek shit. I've done that my whole life. And, and I knew enough women who knew they shit where I was like, I'd rather hear, from everyone. And so I put a call out on Twitter, and Tatiana, who I knew from following each other, pretty much that's the only thing I knew about her. And then my other homie, Jamie Rigetti, who I knew Jamie just a little bit more, but we also had never met in person. And they both responded like, yeah, I'm down. So they all showed up, and that was like the original Fantastic Four. And, we've been family since then pretty much. And now it's like they're more guest hosts or whenever they come through. But Tatiana and me are just, Tatiana and I are the two main hosts of the show. And we've been doing it together for so long. That's like my sister, it's like we just have a relationship that it's like, one of your best friends that you meet much later in life. It's wild like that sometimes. So, that's just my people. I can't, it's tough to describe it, man, because we were just recording last night, and it's just the camaraderie and the way we share jokes and speak to each other is just something else. So I'm just happy to have it.
That's dope, man. So I even saw basically the milestone 4 years ago today, you and Tatiana hosting, of course, a Black Panther viewing.
Yep. That was 4 years ago today. Wow. I think it was actually yesterday, but whatever. I mean, by the time y'all listen to this, will be another day. But, 4 years ago, we hosted, we basically, we bought out the Alamo Drafthouse Theater for 2 nights, one for a general screening, and then the second day for a kids screening. And we sold the tickets and had a bid function that we called Crown Wakanda in celebration of Black Panther. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful night, man. That was just like one of the illest nights, because that was I want to say that was the second time I'd seen it by then, because I got to see one of the, premieres in LA. So I'd seen it already, but that movie is so magical because I saw it 3 times in theaters, and every time was just such an event. So that was just such a night. And then the next day where we had this screening where all these kids got to come see it. And then we did a whole series of events around it where we took kids around and like did classes and little workshops with these children. So it was a whole thing with the whole Crown Wakanda event. We did it in conjunction with the Brooklyn NAACP. It was really beautiful, man. That was like one of the most beautiful things that we've ever done. And I hope we get to do something else, akin to it this year when Wakanda Forever drops. Because, yeah, I got to.
Yeah, definitely.
Crown Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I can honestly say I'm highly anticipating the film. and I'm going to gladly shut down my social media that day because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to hear nothing. And this, I mean, you like last time Twitter wasn't the way it was now. Last time Black Panther came out, and the different feelings people have about T'Challa not being recasted. I think this movie should be. I don't know if it should be that same glorious feeling we had last time. I'm hoping for it.
True.
That's what I'm hoping for, because I don't need all the what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can honestly say, man, the rah-rah around that whole movement I'm trying to I'm almost at the point of muting the hashtag.
I think I've been to that.
Yeah,
but my mentions were in shambles over that one, so I needed to for a minute. Yeah. I get it, but I don't get it. I think Regine Sawyer said it best when we had a quick discussion about it on one of our podcasts, where she said we just need more Black superhero movies. Like that. That's what this discussion really boils down to. It's like, because I get it, but I also don't get it. There's so much in this discussion to me that's like, well, I mean, for most of the time, T'Challa wasn't even in the comics. Like, if we want to keep it funky,
yeah.
So it's not like, I grew up reading Monica Rambeau way more than I grew up reading T'Challa. Let's keep it funky, because he was not even a member of the Avengers for all the time I was growing up. Like, so, and then like I said when we had E-Man on the show, like there's, Icon, there's a whole milestone universe that was created by Black people. There's all kind of characters who are actually created and owned by Black people, which is another whole discussion.
Absolutely. Literally every comic behind me that's an independent comic book written and art done by Black people.
Yes, and if it's independent owned. So when it goes to movies, that means they get all the money, unlike Marvel, this big corporation getting all of the money. Yeah. Like I love Black Panther. Like, behind me right here, we have an array of Marvel Legends Black Panther figures, down to, I got every Black, Marvel Legends figure there is that it's dope. Trust me. So any of these characters, for that matter, but there's this idea that T'Challa is, and I don't get that. I don't get that at all,
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're grandstanding the character, maybe they're holding it to a high pedestal, but also because maybe they were the first ones that were to arrive cinematically with like T'Challa, and even with Cyborg, another Black character who is going through a lot of scrutiny. So it's like two right out the gate.
I mean, Cyborg is Cyborg, Shouts to Ray Fisher, but bruh, like, let's not suddenly act like Cyborg is like some, the premier Black character, like, fuck out of here. Like, I don't think that man was even written by a Black person for most of his comic history.
I don't think
like, I don't, yeah, because right, there was a controversy about that when they launched the New 52 or whatever, right? And they had the Cyborg series, and it wasn't written by a Black person.
No,
and I doubt it was before that. So you're probably right. Marv Wolfman held that down forever.
Any of those OT Titans concepts, absolutely not.
Not even close.
Like the catchphrase is "booyah."
There wasn't a Black person delivering them shits. Like, fuck out of here! Like, I remember when they put him in the Justice League, and I was like, "Get real, dog!" Like, like Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Cyborg. Fam, this man ain't the same, dog.
but in the terms of like fan service, there was that comic where Jon Stewart cussed out Batman. Did people get so fucking mad that they was like, all right, we got to put Cyborg up in here. Jon Stewart can't be cussing out Batman.
They put that man up in that bitch just so Aquaman wouldn't be the worst.
Oh man.
Ah. Like I said, I fuck with Ray Fisher, but come on, man, let's be for real. Let's be for real. And that's just DC's problem. Like they don't really have, brown characters who are on the level of their main characters like that, Unless it's someone like Nubia, like the Black Wonder Woman, who's, shout out to Steph and all them who are doing what they can with that. Yeah, but it's still, it's like they don't have that, they don't have a Monica Rambeau who is, one of the most powerful characters out, in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
I want to see that Blue Beetle joint though. That's that's my dude.
If they pair him up with Booster Gold, it's comedy gold.
No, but they doing a new Blue Beetle with the with what's his name? I can't remember.
Karate Kid.
Yeah, and I can't remember the character's name, but yeah, that Blue Beetle with the suit and the Black Beetle and all that shit. Yeah.
Cobra.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so that I want to see. I'd love to see the old school Booster and Blue too, but this is what we getting right now.
Well, I mean, if DC's been doing at least a little bit of service with Peacemakers as far as making a D-list villain basically into somewhat of a smash on HBO Max to where it's garnering a season 2.
Yep.
So if you can do that with that,
maybe you get the right people. I mean, like I said, because the Blue Beetle joint I know we're supposed to be talking about villains, but that's one of my favorite villains. When he was on Young Justice with the Black Beetle, that is an ill story. Like, so they it can be done.
Definitely. But to get to the main topic at hand, I wanted to dig your mind about the characterization of villains and how they've been written throughout cartoons, nerd culture in general, comic books, and how they're perceived from a writing standpoint. You having a background as a screenwriter, as a writer yourself, can pretty much have some resolve around a lot of questions that I have. One of the first ones that I wanted to go with was basically what has changed basically from the early slapstick, I would say, nature of villains from like the early 70s and 80s that look like caricatures. Like when we talk about like kid shows or how cartoons were basically portrayed, whether it was Cobra Commander, Deathstroke, Mum-Ra, Megatron. You know what I'm saying? These consistent episodes of seeing a villain get his ass whooped, or better yet, having comic banter the entire episode, and then just have to go through it episode after episode. Like the old Adam West Batman. Like the villain never won until like the Adam West movie, the Adam West Batman movie. Like the villain never, with the Riddler going through all those all through those parallels, it seemed like the Riddler was orchestrating the entire movie from like that plot point. That was the only time it like really got serious. Other than that, it was just blam, splat, kazam. But it seemed like villains weren't really taken as serious back then as they are now.
Yeah, because it's funny because when you first posed this question to me, I was like, well, I think it's more because comic books a lot of times have taken villains more seriously, but I guess if you go back to some of the golden age stuff with Superman, it's so ridiculous that it's pretty much not taking anything seriously either. So I think that was just a sign of the times. And actually Grant Morrison was talking about this earlier, and it's something we were talking about on For All Nerds at the same time. It's something I'm really big on. Is I don't really believe in the idea that like you have to darken Superman and Batman to the level of their villains. Like, I think that's so weak. I think that's like really weak writing when it becomes like, oh, but what if Superman was evil? Like,
right.
He'd be an asshole. Like, we get it. So it's like, why not, do what they did, with, to me, great storytelling. Take the characters as they are and then write great stories around them. Like, have Superman just be this paragon of good and, upstanding and believing in the people beneath him. But as far as like cartoons, I think that's main. Like I think Skeletor, Mum-Ra, etc. down the line are more of the idea that even though cartoons were always written with the idea that, adults could watch them, those cartoons especially were more geared, towards children and towards selling toys. So,
Mhm.
the good guys had to win every episode. It had to be wrapped up in its 30 minutes. They weren't, that's another thing. The idea of a serial show is a new idea, except in like soap operas and things of that nature.
Right.
Like the serial show where it's like there's a continuing story arc, especially wasn't done back then because you would see these G.I. Joe episodes out of order, all kind of ways. So
True.
that wasn't really, it wasn't like they could just tell a story throughout the season. Now you have streaming services where you can watch a whole season so they can tell whatever story they want. So it's a different time then, like serial storytelling, as far as even like dramas wasn't done. Like you turn on the TV back in the 80s, Knight-Rider, every episode wrap up in, 45 minutes and then move on to the next. There was no main villain for a season of Knight-Rider.
Right. Yeah, you true.
Yeah. That it's just different like now. People like HBO and stuff like that really started changing that game. And then, that became part of network selling point too, because they had to keep up. Because HBO was doing things like Sopranos, whatnot. So then you had networks start doing stuff like Lost, all these other shows where it was like, long form storytelling over seasons with big budgets and not, because soap operas have been doing this type of storytelling, but this is more, where it's like genre storytelling like that.
Right. Now, when we get into it and we talk about like a lot of new age superheroes that are basically brought out throughout the age of comics, they don't necessarily have somebody that's jealous of their traits that's also a hero on their side. They're more so attached to the villain themselves. So why is Starscream the biggest hater?
So, all right, you kind of lost me on the first part, but as far as the second part, why is Starscream the biggest hater? I think that Starscream is the biggest hater because I'm sure there's some psychological or like mythological reason behind it, because some of these people who wrote these shows were a lot smarter than the actual shows that came out of them. But there's the I'm trying to think what role. Starscream is kind of like the conscience, I would say, of Megatron in a way. Is he? Because he's like the or like, okay, there's this and they always, I don't know if this is actually true, but I always hear that Roman emperors after a battle or after a victory would have a guy whisper in their ear, all victory is fleeting. Or something like that, because it's like it's gonna go bad eventually.
Right.
So I think that's kind of Starscream, where he's constantly like that. It's gonna go bad. Like, it's all gonna fall apart, Megatron. None of your plots will work. But he's also just a jealous ass, nigga. Like, I think that's really more what it is. Like, he's a hater, like you said. Like, there's always a hater, and Starscream is definitely a hater.
Word. And I think it wasn't before until like Transformers the movie, when Megatron actually got his ass beat, and then he was like, "Well, shit, I'm running shit now." Like he took it.
Yeah, immediately. But he been. That was like Transformers. They definitely, that was like a storyline that paid off, because he had been trying to, like, he was always like, "Yo, I'm better than you. I can do this. You will. You're gonna crumble, and I can do this." And then he eventually crumbled, and then Galvatron came through. Yeah. Oh man, he kicked him straight out the spaceship. Yeah. Oh man, I know that whole movie, like, backwards and forwards, dog. It's like, yeah. Oh Lord.
All right. So does it bode well for the antagonist to continually exist to the hero, kind of a la the Joker?
Does it bode well? Like, by that, you mean like, is it a good thing for the hero to
exist in the same space as the hero?
Like by the same space? There's a lot to that. Like, all right. So like, do you mean like that? Is it good for like there's something that Marvel did a lot in the MCU. Like, is it good for the villain to be like a negative version of the hero?
Correct.
But the Joker isn't exact. But the Joker's not. Well, the Joker in certain ways, I guess, is a negative version. Like, at least according to the Killing Joke, the Joker is a negative version of Batman. Like, both of them had a really bad day, and then they, both went their separate ways. Batman decided to, fight crime, and Joker decided chaos and anarchy is the way.
Mm-hmm.
At least that version of the Joker, because there's so many different versions of the Joker throughout the history of comics and, movies and TV and now this and everything else. So, I don't think so. I don't think that every villain needs to be like because that's just the Joker, right? The Riddler, etc. down the line are not, mirrors of Batman. And I think that's also, I don't want to say limiting, but I think at least in the form of Joker and Batman, I think that is limiting in what their characters are all about. Because I think that people there's a lot of stuff with Batman that I feel like there was like 3 or 4 comics that people read, and then they're like, "This is what Batman is," and it's like The Long Halloween, The Dark Knight Returns, and The Killing Joke. And it just seems like those 3 have been so influential in everything that has come out of it. And also Grant Morrison's take that Batman, can murder anyone. That's the other one that people love. Like he's prepared for anything.
Oh,
yeah. And I like all those, but at the same time, it's just like I like all of those, and all of those are wildly different from each other. And there's other Batmen out there that are wildly different from those versions. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think for the MCU that worked. Like, see, I'm saying that's a different thing. Like for Batman and Joker to be like, I don't think that's a good thing to say that Batman is a mirror image of the Joker. One, because I don't really believe that. I don't believe that Batman is just like this insane dude who dresses up in a bat suit, and I also don't believe the idea that just because you have one bad day, you can just go off and start killing people.
Right.
Or because you had a succession of bad days, you can start just go killing people. Yeah. So I don't, that one, for that, I'd say no. For like the idea of the MCU, I think that was just simple, and it just, made it simple for people to get into it. It's like, here's Iron Man, here's an evil Iron Man. They fight.
Right.
Because the main part of the movie is there's so much more to the story than that. That's why Iron Man 1 is such a classic. It's like, by the end of it, you don't need some complexity of villain, with, Mandarin with 10 rings and he's got 10 different powers and all that type of stuff. You just need them to have a fight,
Right.
because the real fight is what's going on between these characters, not what's going on screen, not the action, really.
See, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because like the next segment I was basically going to talk about that so-called Marvel having their early villain problem, where they basically had a main antagonist, but yet you saw these plethora of some very established villains being knocked off one by one. So like Obadiah Stane, the Red Skull, Destroyer, like these are some dope villains throughout the comics, and yet, yeah, we saw Red Skull later on.
Yep.
But that was beyond anything I would have even imagined. But it was like Red Skull, like in a
knocked off.
Yeah. In the first Captain America movie.
I mean, Obadiah Stane, I was, going in, I was pretty much expecting, knowing how it ended for him in the comics. I didn't really think he was going to make it out of the first one either way, so unless they plan to stretch him out as the villain over 3 movies. And once he puts on the Ironmonger suit, I was like, oh yeah, it's a wrap for that dude. Once you put on that suit, I know how your story arc ends. So, yeah, I never, that's another one I just didn't understand. I just like, these movies are good. Like, what do you mean they have a problem? There's so many other characters. They can always bring in another character, or they can, like Red Skull, we knew he just vanished. Like if they wanted to bring him back, I thought they were going to bring him back before that. Like, he was going to come back in part 3 as the main villain, but they didn't need to because they'd already moved on to other stuff. And I thought that, also showed a lot of like, I don't want to say, but like, it was a gamble. Like a lot of the big movies they made was a gamble to do that, you know, because you could just rely on let's watch Captain America versus Red Skull for 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that. They were like, nah, we're gonna knock this dude off. Nah, Obadiah saying we're gonna knock off Killmonger. Like, that's another one, and we discussed this before too. But it's like it's so funny to me how people are like, you can't kill T'Challa, but they killed Killmonger. Like,
Right.
it's like that is what these movies have to have. Is like stakes.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that they've already done so much where it's like they just keep bringing people back. They've got time travel, they've got magic, all this stuff. So it's like if they do that for T'Challa just to have another actor play the role, that really cheapens this universe even more than it's already been cheapened by the fact that they keep bringing people back, you know, and things like that. So that's why, as much as I love the character, I think that's one of the other reasons why they should move on. But as far as the early Marvel villain problem, I never really understood that, other than like the ones like Thor: The Dark World, where the dude is just forgettable, and Curse is a dope villain in the comics, and they just,
Malekith is dope.
Malekith, all that, yeah, it's fire, and they just, you know, but that was a miss, you know, it just happens. Like the Yellow Jacket Ant-Man, I mean, who cared about that dude? You know, like, yeah, keep him moving.
But I gotta say that I was surprisingly satisfied with Bucky Barnes' arc throughout Captain America as the Winter Soldier. I didn't expect it to go that route, and when it did, I was like, okay, yeah, he could do this forever, and he has.
It's funny, I didn't read the Winter Soldier stuff until after the movies were out. I only read them recently for the when the Winter Soldier show, and I honestly gave up about. I think I was about 90% of the way through, and I'd read some of the other stuff, like I'd read The Return of Captain America back then, so I knew, you know, peripherally about everything, but the Ed Brubaker shit has some, like, stuff they do with Sharon Carter, and I'm just like, man, were you getting divorced, Ed, or something? Like, because there's some real hate of women in that book where I was like, ooh.
Like, even the fact that Winter Soldier, to get Wolverine back out of hiding because he was hiding out in Japan and everything, kills a pregnant woman.
I just saw that today when I read
Winter Soldier was responsible for that shit.
I didn't know that until I read Lives of Wolverine today. And I was like, wow, like this man ain't chopped your head off after that, like, you know. But yeah, Ed Brubaker, because he did some dirty things to Sharon, and then he did that. That's all, like, yeah. And I actually prefer the MCU version of the Winter Soldier, and I think dude Sebastian Shaw made himself a star off that. Like you said, like, it's been incredible. He can definitely play that shit forever.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Word. So what, from a writer standpoint, what does killing the villain do to the storyline in the eyes of the audience early on? Like how Cottonmouth got killed in the Luke Cage series by like episode 5.
I mean, that one is funny. We did a it wasn't writer space, it was a Twitter spaces with April Rain and Cheo Hodari Coker and a few other people were in there, and Cheo was talking about that, and he said what he wanted to achieve was the shock that he got reading Alpha Flight number 12 or 13. He said 12, but I always thought it was 13, but I think it's 12 when Guardian gets killed. And it's so wild because that issue is like my Jean Grey, my Gwen Stacy, my whoever you want to talk about. Like, I don't know what it was. I just loved how Guardian looked. I just thought the Canadian flag on that suit was dope. And
with the wraparound and shit.
And I had the issue where he fought Wolverine and the X-Men, and he like fought them all. So I was like, this dude's dope, you know? And then I was reading Alpha Flight, and I got the issue where it's like, you know, one of these people will die on the cover, and then this man gets blown up at the end in front of his wife. And it, like, you know, me just talking about it right now, I'm just sitting here like I was a little kid, like, what is life? You know? It's seriously, like, I just did not, I was, you know, like, because I didn't know, like Jean Grey, by the time I was reading Jean Grey, she was dead, so I was like, okay, she dead, I get it, that's sad when I read the issue, but that one, even though he was been dead too, I don't, no one told me on that one, it's like I read the back issue and no one had let me know, so it's just like, oh, so I get what he was attempting to do with that, I think the problem with that one was, at least personally, was that whatever the dude's name after was just like, nah, B, you're no Mahershala, like that's just like, he should have reversed those roles, if anything.
Diamondback. Hey,
yeah, well, whatever, dog. And then the whole, beefing with him until he's his brother and daddy issues. It was just like, come on, man. Like, so yeah, that one, I don't know. But as far as like what, people do with situations like that is like what I said with the Guardian. It's that idea of shock, like Guardian was the leader of the team, he's the symbol of Canada, and he gets blown up in front of his wife, because he can't, actually because she might have distracted him. It's like, it's one of those, and because he's trying to save her once she walks in the room.
So I guess from a team aspect, it was more like, okay, how do we push on after this? So all of a sudden you just have like these episodes of struggle to kind of like pick back up the book. In the case of Luke Cage, it's basically, it's a takeover moment.
Yes. And it just doesn't work for me personally because, the dude just wasn't as dope. Like, that was just my thing. And his, I mean, it was like impossible. Like, Mahershala came in those 4 episodes he had and just ate everything alive,
First like, on the roof when he tossed homeboy off the roof. It was like, that was episode 1.
When you walk in front of the biggie, with the crown on your head, like it's over after that. Like you're an icon. There's no, you had these iconic moments that they didn't really give due. I mean, but it's impossible to. I don't want to riff on that because I actually love Luke Cage. I love season 2. I thought season 2 was actually in the end maybe even better than season 1. And so I just, yeah. But that's what that is. It's just shot moments. It's like, it's the thing with killing Killmonger. It's the thing with killing any of these characters. When you would think that you can see Black Panther versus Killmonger for 3 movies, and it's like, oh, come on now, bro. No.
Right.
Like these niggas running around shooting at each other. Someone's going to get murdered. That's like, that was the Transformers movie. That you want to talk about like, brutality and I wonder did they know going in because they had to because it's like they had to kill characters so they can make room for new toys, so they knew that. But it was like they had to know. We are shooting, what's my man's name, Braun in the chest, and smoke is gonna pour out of his eyes as he dies. And none of these characters have ever been murdered before.
It's crazy because the way that I look at it. Okay, so Transformers came on from what 1984 to 1987. So we had this like 3-year period of maybe around a series, and they did long seasons back then. So we're talking about 27 episodes or maybe 32 episodes per season. And it was a lead up to a 1987 movie. All these kids are still kids, 11 years old, been rocking with the toys and everything like that. All of a sudden we get to the movie. Not a bullet has touched Optimus. Nobody's died. The Witwickies are running around like everything's safe. Witwickies weren't even in the movie, by the way. You know what I'm saying? And then the first 30 minutes, chaos.
I mean, not even first 30. It's immediate. Like they just start. They murder off, like, I mean, Megatron hops on the thing, shoots Ironhide, Brawn, a couple other cats. I think Ratchet catches it right then too, right? I know Ironhide does. Like, no, Ratchet makes it out of there, I think. But Ironhide dies, Brawn dies, a couple other cats die. Yeah. And then to make it even more cold, it's like, even that whole sequence, like Optimus rolls over an Insecticon, crushes his head. It's like, they are just brutally killing characters left and right. When no one had gotten murdered before. So I think that's one of the most, effective and most shocking things probably ever done, like in, animation, cinema, storytelling, and it's funny because all this, because they were just making room for new toys.
And well, the same could be said for G.I. Joe the movie, because I never seen a snake go through somebody's heart like Duke.
And then they said the only reason they changed that is because of the reaction to the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Because kids were so sad that they didn't want, them to go through it again. Because that shit was some BS. Like, they come in at the end like, oh, dude's alive. Like, yeah, right, dog. That man caught it to
right
the
through
chest.
homeboy chest. How is he alive?
In slow motion. I was sitting at my cousin's house, yo. Me and my cousin, I was in DC sitting like on a family trip at my cousin's house. Me and my cousin were sitting there like, and that was another one though, like, cause they brought in them Cobra La cats, and they're like, man, who the fuck are these cornballs? Like, I ain't buying these toys, dog. That was my first thought. Like, ain't no way, fam. And I damn sure didn't. I ain't have no Cobra La. Nope. And Larry Hama, like, that's the one I don't think he put into the comic even.
Yeah, I don't remember Cobra Live.
I think he must have been like, you're fucking out your mind. Like, ain't no way.
You're not getting Nemesis Enforcer. You're not getting any of them cats. Sergeant Slaughter fighting old boy. This was for Duke.
I need to see that joint again, because I know the Transformers movie by heart, but I ain't seen that one. I used to watch that a lot too, but I'd have to see it again to remember every day. I remember, wasn't one of the, is that like the bulky Cobra La dude? Like, he had like some shit on his head or something?
Yeah, and he gave him the backbreaker. He gave him a backbreaker, and he said this was for the USA.
Were they aliens or like from undersea? Were they like Atlantis type dudes or something?
They were like, they were always there. They came up from the earth. It was like Atlantis. Cobra La had been in hiding for God knows how long. It rose like that movie The Abyss when the fucking the whole island.
Yeah. Yep.
And they just took over the land.
Yeah, I might watch that joint tonight, B. I got it. Yeah.
Pentour, that was the leader of the crew.
But Serpentor, wasn't he already there? Because in the comics, Serpentor was like, he was separate from Cobra La.
Right.
Yeah.
Serpentor was like their in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Because Serpentor was so ill in the comics. So Larry Hama did that shit dope. Like, he had like DNA from Storm Shadow and like every great. Yeah, he was sick. Man. Yeah, but nah, he was. I mean, I know when they showed him Cobra La, he was like, "Fuck out of here." Like, I already had to do Serpentor. Y'all made me make some dope shit out of Serpentor.
Oh man,
like, come on now.
Now I saw during that Twitter Spaces that you basically the voice of Black Panther was in there with you guys. I remember you shouting them out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, just the whole Earth's Mightiest Heroes, man. Other than the theme song, that theme song was so ass. That's the only thing that thing, like, it's like every week I be struggling to fast forward through it, so I went had to listen to it. But man, that show is so good beyond that. Like, that show is just so good. Like, man, Earth's Mightiest Heroes is not. It's up there with like JLU or any of the, all the Justice League shows. Like, that joint does not get the credit it deserves. They were telling they did a Secret Invasion. They did a bunch of like classic storylines on there.
Man. So this one quote, true or false? The role of the villain is only determined by who's telling the story. Do you agree?
That's actually pretty funny. It's like history is told, history is told by the winners. So, yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty true. But I also think that's like, well, let's see. Let's take a study like Infinity War. Like, definitely. Because it depends. Like, I pointed out how Infinity War is about, Thanos' journey one. And I mean, even if you take any of them, like Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, like, who's the villain in that? I mean, I call Tony Stark a villain all the time, and a monster. And him and Obadiah Stane aren't really that far apart.
True.
Like, they just have a difference of opinion, really, because Stark continues to make weapons, and his weapons get used by other people.
obviously, by the look of the variants that are being shown in this trailer, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness obviously got his Ultron box. And
Yeah.
he probably encased the Earth in steel, like in armor, like he had planned to in the first place.
I mean, we about to have, armor wars where people are still trying to clean up his mess. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could even look at that in real time and be like, okay, all the history books that we've read as kids that have determined history, who's actually been telling this story the entire time? And
the winners. Yeah.
And what are we supposed to believe?
Yeah, they're gonna be like, yo, we did a great job, didn't we? Like, of course.
It was like, man, y'all raped, murdered, pillaged, killed, all types of stuff, but you ain't putting that in the book.
Nah, none of that. Not for a second.
Also, in an evil society, a villain is the hero because only the villain can speak the truth. You agree?
In an evil society, the villain is the hero because only the villain can speak the truth. Well, let's see. We live in a pretty evil society right now. And the villain is the hero. And so someone speaking the truth is probably considered a villain right now. But truth is objective as well. So that's because people are like, would say that people like Rogan are speaking the truth, and I would disagree. Right. And people would, label him a villain and say, he's the villain and he's just trying to save us or whatever. So I really can't agree with that one. I think there's too many qualifiers to that, like, because truth is objective sometimes. Yeah, in a villainous society, the villain is the hero because only the villain can tell the truth. Can't the hero tell the truth in a villainous society?
Are they allowed?
Okay, I get what. Yeah, okay, then I agree with that. Yeah, because people like Black Panther, like the Black Panthers, who I feel like were telling the truth, were murdered.
Right. Yeah. For basically trying to tell everybody the truth.
Yeah, pretty much. And anyone who's ever tried to tell anyone the truth gets murdered. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Now, as opposed to like last year, 2021, with the scale of MCU movies that are coming out. Recently, the trailer that has come out for most of the plot of the DC movies, the DCEU movies that are going to basically hit the scene. Is this the year that DC kind of sort of turns that corner with Batman, Aquaman, Black Adam? Like JSA kind of looked dope the way they looked in those first little screenshots.
Yes. I have hope for Black Adam. I don't know enough about the director or the people behind the scenes, but I know that Rock, has wanted it for so long. But I also know that Rock, plays the Rock in like 90% of his movies. But maybe this ain't the one, 90%, because he does have that 10% where he goes all in on some weird shit. And, I love those 10% as well. So, and I love his 90%, when he's just doing the Rock. So I'm going to enjoy it either way. Black Adam is going to be dope either way. Now, how dope it is the question,
And when you say Black Adam, we're talking about a movie that's been in development since Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man.
Yes. I remember when they made that announcement, and I was like, oh, that's fire, yeah, he looks like him, But I also remember that was the time when Black Adam was like flying through people in the comments I was reading. So I was like, well, we'll see if he does that on screen, Actually, does he fly through what's his name? The giant dude?
Adam Smashy. He does that.
Yeah, he does, right? Yeah, he flies right through Adam Smasher, doesn't he? Yeah. Oh, they're not gonna do that one. They, they got that pretty boy playing Adam Smasher. Ain't no way they blast through that dude on screen. That would be great, though.
Hey,
that'd be shocking.
That would be shocking, but I mean, if Invincible is now a thing where it's on TV, I'm like, anything's possible now.
If James Gunn was doing it, it would definitely be.
Oh, it would happen.
Yeah, it'd be 100% sure that man would get blown through. Hey yo, I think that yeah, I don't know about this whole DC 10 in the corner. I think that's just like is Marvel. It's like any year people can have a string of good movies. I just think people are expecting something from DC that we're never going to get at this point. I think people are expecting this unified universe where everything connects like Marvel does, and you're never going to get it. And I think as long as you accept that, you're going to get certain projects you love and certain projects you don't. Like, my excitement wavers for the Batman. I'll say that. It's like, it depends on what day you ask me, whether I'm like, ooh, whether I'm like, because most days I'm like, and then some days I'm like, maybe this will be good. But I just read today and they're like, we want to make a whole universe of Batman's villains and they're all grounded. And I was like,
yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm good. Like, I've seen that before. And I really do not get how this is any different than what Christopher Nolan just did. I can't wrap my head or say that enough, because that's all the vibe I get from this. It's Christopher Nolan with a different filter on it.
It's was it a War of the Planet of the Apes score with Batman in tow?
And I like War of the Planet of the Apes, but I still think the first one was the best one. So
the first one was the best one.
Yeah, I don't get it. So I'm more hyped for Black Adam Rock. For the Flash, that's another one I'm questionable about. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Literally, because everybody's just saying, yeah, it's going to be Flashpoint, and I'm like, does he have to do Flashpoint? Do we have to have Thomas Wayne? Like,
yeah.
Like, what is this? Is this the reset? Like,
wait, he's not going to play Michael Keaton's to play Thomas Wayne? Is that what's going to happen?
There's supposed to be two Batmans in this movie.
Okay.
Is it going to be just Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck? I'm thinking one of them is going to end up getting murked somehow as some type of parallel in order to like reboot this whole thing. And if it's Michael Keaton going forward, how you do it?
And why? But maybe they got a bit, a better plan than I can see, but I mean, I love Michael Keaton, and he can still pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more hyped for Batgirl. I want to see that. That looks good. What else they have? That's it. I'm really enjoying Peacemaker. I've actually got the next to last episode. I've been saving it for when the finale drops tomorrow, so I can watch them back to back.
Yeah, I just feel like James Gunn has a niche for basically taking C and D list characters and making them interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's just he's a very great storyteller, and he always has been. Like, I remember when they had an announcement for Guardians, because I love his joint Slither.
Yeah,
his movie Slither. Man. Yeah. And so I just knew, given that, what was in Slither, I was like, oh, he'll be perfect for this. He'll have the humor, he'll have the gross out, and he'll have the sci-fi. So it's like, and he'll have a heartfelt story. So, yeah. And he's been doing it. So yeah, I knew I'm hyped for Peacemaker to finish out, and yeah, Aquaman. I think that should be solid.
Yeah. I mean, the first one was decent, so it's like it's having that Thor type of feel where the first one was like, the aesthetics of this is cool as shit.
Mm-hmm.
It can't do nothing but get better from here, even if the story of the first one was ass.
Yeah, and I thought it was just a little bit drawn. Yeah, it was just a little bit drawn out, a little bit clunky. It was like it could have been tighter. And I think though, like you said, I think this is one of them things where it's just trying to get better.
Dope.
Did they abandon that Trench movie they were gonna do?
They did abandon that. The Trench movie and New Gods was both shelved.
The same time. Okay, I was more concerned with New Gods, so I didn't even realize that they dumped that one too.
Well, which I thought was a mistake, because I felt like if there was a way to actually like tell the story of the early DC universe, pre anything Superman, anything Batman, anything on Earth 2, just showcasing Highfather, Darkseid, the Apocalypse, New Genesis Wars, bringing in characters like Orion and Mr. Miracle and all that would have been fire. The Female Furies, fire. That showcasing that with the cosmic aesthetic, that would have been it.
And they had what's his name, Tom King on it, but that that was allegedly that's because of Snyder. They didn't want the conflicting dark sides or whatever, and it was like, yeah, who knows what could have been.
Yeah, Yeah, there's a lot out there that could have been. You know?
Yeah.
So, Ben, as the writer that you are, what projects are you anticipating for yourself going forward in 2022?
Oh man, a bunch. I'm hoping to be doing. Well, I mean, I've got some things in the fire right now that still can't be discussed as of yet,
Okay.
and one of them I'm really, really excited about, and like, got some more meetings this week to hopefully get a green light on it, and that's something I'm just really, really excited about. And I got a few other things that I'm working on that are some personal projects that I'm really liking the way they're turning out, and I've just really been happy with writing lately, where I've just been more like enjoying the process again because I kind of had fallen out of that. So
Right.
I'm back to where I'm just like, let me just write something, and see what it is. And then I've just been watching a lot more things and being like, inspired by what other people are doing out here right now. So yeah, I'm just really excited for this year in general, as far as like creating and with everything, with For All Nerds, with writing, with anything. So
Now, as far as writing, screenwriting or comic writing, which one is it?
both.
Oh,
Both.
okay.
Yeah, both. Yeah, both. Yeah, definitely both. I'm working on some screenwriting stuff, but I'm also might have some a gig coming up on that. But and then with comic writing, I'm actually that's something that's the most I can say on that, is that I have a big pitch in the fire for some comic stuff that I'm really, really excited about. Like,
Well, I see. I remember you going to New York Comic Con, and that was like one of the big things that came out of that you had said that there might be some comic writing for you in the future. So I'll be definitely looking forward to that.
yeah, and it's still coming. Yeah, and it's something, man. I'm just waiting to see. We'll see. Hopefully soon there'll be announcements with my name on it.
Definitely. Now with the inclusion of your co-host Tatiana King Jones, what does it speak to that there is in this space of nerd culture that there is female representation?
Oh man, like we said, like I said at the beginning, one of our main mottos is inclusion is revolution. And I just feel that for everyone, it's not about female representation, it's about all representation. Like I just I just don't understand that. I just like I grew up on stuff like Star Trek. I grew up on stuff like Star Wars, where Yoda says, this physical form is not what I am. I just grew up on that ideal, like it's like we are all luminous beings, we're all energy. And so I just don't really, I do my best to not look at people in the terms of like, what are they? I just look at people as who they are. And I'm just, like, of course, like that's how, like, I don't get any other way to do it. Like I want to hear from every voice, and especially want to hear from marginalized voices and people who have been pushed to the side. So that's why that was, like I said, it was like one of the first things I did on the show. I think we did at most 2 episodes before I brought them in, maybe 4. I can't remember. It was very, very quickly where I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work, And then we've had people like Ty the Robot, my boy, queer representation, just all, anything, that's like, and I myself, like I tell people all the time, the show has helped me grow, where I've seen, like my limitations, where I wasn't seeing the all-encompassing circle and like really seeing what it means to be like humanity as a whole, and just be like, all are welcome. And so as we've grown, I've grown, and I'm just even more of it now. I'm like, whoever, we just need everyone. But as always, we're gonna be for all nerds, but we are gonna podcast from, the people of color. So,
Definitely. Well, bro, this has been amazing. I appreciate you.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah, man. Look, it's been a long time coming because I feel like I embarrassed myself the last time we was on the panel together. My internet was acting like I had dial up.
Oh, you was all good, man. We definitely got you back when we do another one.
Word, man.
Yeah.
So for my man, DJ Ben Hameen from the For All Nerds podcast, this is Grandmaster Facts, James Grandmaster Facts voice, and we are out.